Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host, Evan Teague. With me, like always, is Noah Bailey. So, around this time of year, we like to do a video where we go over our top 10 favorite comic book slash superhero projects from the previous year. So, that's what we're here to do today. And I would say there are definitely some things that surprised me, some things that were, as good as I expected. Some things were maybe, a little, not maybe a little disappointing here and there, but there's at least, a couple of things that also just wasn't even expecting to be good at all and actually ended up being pretty good. So,
Yeah.
I think there's a wide range of stuff on here. So, how about you get us started?
Okay. All right. Well, my phone doesn't fall asleep. Yes. So number 10, I had Captain America: Brave New World. Now, not
Mm-hmm.
amazing, not terrible. I think a lot of people put it make it, we live in this, if it's not the best movie I've ever seen, it's the worst movie I've ever seen kind of category. And while I believe it is not the strongest of the Captain America movies by any means, I don't think it's terrible. Yeah, there's some moments where I'm like, okay, didn't need to happen. But at the same time, like, I think they did a good job with a few things. I like, having to recast a major character is never really easy. So I like, Harrison Ford does a really good job coming in and playing Ross. I think they did. I think it's a little like clunky, kind of with this, Captain. This is a new Captain America coming in, and he's doing this when we kind of already saw that with the whole, like, I guess Captain America and Winter Soldier or Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the official title is. I know they did the like change in the last episode
Yeah.
thing, but it wasn't perfect, but I think it did a good job. I think I also was hoping probably for more of some other characters, especially
Mm-hmm.
things that kind of were, like big or hinted at, and then just kind of like, do you remember the whole like, what's her name? Um, Sharon Carter, she's like the power broker or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah. That is
and then
that.
they just never
Uh-huh.
went anywhere with that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and again, I'm not trying to make this like about like false stuff, but I'm kind of like, I was really expecting there to be some kind of like connection with that, or
Hmm.
or at least a note, like a mention. I don't know if the Marvel kind of forgot they did that or what, but
So
that's a thing.
so here I think are the two biggest issues with the movie. And just off the bat, I'm gonna say the movie itself, in a vacuum, just as a movie,
Fine.
it's fine. It's like a
Yeah.
6 out of 10
Yeah.
ish. Maybe a
Yeah.
little
It
lower, maybe a
has
little
some
higher
cool
depending on the day, but
moments.
like it's like a 6 ish. However, the two biggest issues of the movie are A, it is titled Captain America something. And I know the Russo brothers aren't attached to this, but Captain America Winter Soldier and Civil War are two of the best Marvel movies.
Correct.
And a lot of the stuff in this movie is kind of trying to evoke some of the same essence as Winter Soldier movie, and it just kind of doesn't live up to the name overall. Um, I think I might personally enjoy it maybe a little more than the first, the first Avenger. Just I don't know,
Yeah.
nothing
Okay.
about that movie didn't really click with me. Um, but as far as the two more recent Captain America movies, it is definitely, it's on at least on some level competing with those, and it just
Yeah.
doesn't quite live up to that. The second, I would even argue, bigger issue is you're right. It is not really a follow up to the Falcon and Winter
Any.
Soldier show. It's technically a sequel to a movie that came out 15 years ago that no one saw.
Well, yeah. like I saw like it's like people online are like, I like how this movie answers more questions about other movies than the movie is actually in the time. Like this
Mhm.
says like it's a follow up to Hulk and freaking like what is
Eternal.
it? Yes,
Two
Eternals.
movies again. No
Yeah,
one saw.
Eternals, which nobody cared about, by the way. But we
Mhm.
had to follow up because they made this giant thing happen that we
Yeah.
can't just ignore. So it's more of a follow up to that than it is to like anything Captain America related, including the spin off show that directly
Right.
led to this movie in the first place.
And it's not like you can't do interesting things with General Ross now being the villain. I'm perfectly fine with Red Hulk as an antagonist to this new Captain America. I think that makes sense, especially when it was technically kind of set up in the Secret Invasion show again that wasn't very good and barely anyone watched that there was probably going to be a new president soon. So, Captain America, like this brand new Captain America dealing with this brand new president, I think who, ends up being the Red Hulk. I think there is something interesting you could have done there. And I also don't necessarily mind there being a mind control element if Bucky were actually in the movie. But because Bucky only shows up 30 minutes before the climax,
Yes, for
it
like
like
5 seconds.
there was literally a moment. My roommate and I watched it again kind of recently. There was literally a moment where Sam says, "Oh, I know a guy who can help us out with this situation." He was specifically talking about the like gamma pills that Ross was taking, which I also think he should have gotten Bruce Banner involved in that. But whatever. Again, if it's a sequel to the Hulk movie, you should probably get Bruce Banner involved. Like he literally mentioned he knows a guy who can help, and then he goes to this random guy who you've never met before, at least we've never met before, and then died before the end of the movie when Bucky's whole thing is that he was able to get over mind control. Like you'd think he would be the first person he would call once he realized that mind control was a part of this.
Right?
Um, yeah, but as far as like the good things about this movie, I think the individual action scenes, although I think they don't overall, they're not as good as stuff in Winter Soldier or Civil War. They are still like I think pretty good, especially the flying sequences over the Pacific. I think those or Indian Ocean, whichever, out there, in the ocean. I think those scenes specifically were very good. Even the Red Hulk fight was better than I expected it to be. The CG was overall like better than I was expecting it to be because we are kind of in that era where weirdly enough, I don't like expect CG to always be completely on point, and I think it was about as good as it should have been. So if the story were just a little better, if it were actually a Captain America movie and not a sequel to the Hulk, I think it would have been a lot better. But which is a little disappointing for Sam's first outing, really as Captain America.
Yeah, and it kind of just, it kind of makes you feel like, because, you're worried, like, are they, are the people of Marvel going to see this reaction and be like, hey, maybe we give him more of a back seat? Some people are like, oh,
Mm.
maybe that's why Steve Rogers is coming back. And like,
That's unrelated. I genuinely think
no,
that's
I
unrelated.
know, but like, it's like the memes where it's like, when you see, like, I think so. It's like when you see, he's like, when you've been gone for one movie and your legacy's already been tarnished, and it's like Steve Rogers like pulling the suit back. It's just like, oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, and
Like,
it's not like there weren't other Captain America supervillains that could have pulled from. The Serpent Society is even technically kind of in the movie. Granted, a lot of that was reshoots, but like they were still there. You could have leaned more into that. Like I feel there is a good Captain America movie somewhere in one of the plot elements that they introduced, and instead there were 9 other plot elements that didn't really connect very well. It didn't really connect to Captain America very well. Like Captain America should not kind of like be a seemingly minor character in his own movie, and that's kind of
yes,
it felt more like a General Ross movie, which
yes,
felt
which was
yeah
so odd because, again, why are we making the movie about Ross? And like, don't get me wrong, I get, Ross can be a great character. Harrison Ford's obviously a great actor, but it's like, You're like a side character, bro.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah. Not to mention, like, this movie has been in development for a while now, and I feel like with it coming out at the beginning of 2025, that would have been the perfect opportunity for them to like actually develop and establish who the Avengers are going to be going forward.
yes.
And they kind of teased at the very end of the movie. He talks to Falcon, who he was already on board. I want to rebuild the Avengers, and then okay, and then by the time we get to the end of another movie, it'll be much higher. And after credit scene of that movie, it's like, oh, off screen, Sam he has his Avengers team. They're doing Avengers things that we're not going to see until the actual team up, where there's a lot of other stuff going on. So like I feel like you like all the pieces were there for this to be a great springboard moment for the rest of the MCU, and instead it just kind of fell flat.
And you kind of know they're just not going to touch anything related to this
Yeah.
until they have to, because that's what they've been doing with all these movies and shows and
Hmm.
projects. They've just, okay, put a pin in that, and we'll put it with all the other 10 pins and everything else we're doing, which is kind of getting ridiculous because there's so many movies
Hmm.
and stuff we have no follow. We still don't know what Shang-Chi's doing. It's been like 5 years.
We don't know what Shang-Chi's doing. Like, I guess you could argue that that beacon that Hulk and Captain Marvel were sensing that's something to do with Quantumania, but it didn't like specifically say that. I think that's what they were going for, something with Kang, but then obviously that got
Yeah, I get
changed.
that.
Um, but then, like, speaking of after credit scenes, after credit scene of this movie was just more inane multiverse teasing. Like, we've done that for 8 movies. Like, we
Wait,
know
remind me,
multiverse.
what was the after credit scene again? I don't remember.
Sam just like visits the leader in prison, and the leader goes on some tirade about like, oh, you may have beaten me now, but what'll you do when the others come? You think you're the only world? There are other worlds fighting for like, how are you gonna stop them? And then like, are you ready for like what are you talking about? First of all, we
The
know that
most
there's like other worlds. Like, yeah, like first of all, you're talking about aliens. We know that aliens exist. You talking about multiverse stuff. We know that multiverse exists. So what are you talking about?
it's like, yeah, but not this multiverse because we're doing it differently, even though we've already done it 2 other times and
Like,
that weren't really related.
I get like maybe you could argue that since everyone forgot about what happened in No Way Home, no one like knew that that multiverse happened, and Doctor Strange is usually pretty good about covering up stuff that happened in his realm. So like maybe the general public doesn't really know about multiverse stuff, but I'm pretty sure Sam and Wong at least know each other, so I feel like you at least have mentioned it before.
Well, maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to tell because it's like we haven't seen anything on screen connecting anything. So it's like, do these guys like we don't know if they have a Thursday meeting or if they
Right.
never talk. Like we have no idea.
We know
So it's
that
kind of just
Wong
like
and Captain Marvel and Hulk know each other. We know that much.
right.
So I
Yeah, we
would
saw
like
that.
to
But
think
that was years ago,
that was
and we don't know
4 years
what's happened
ago.
since then. Literally.
I would like
We
to
don't
think
know
that
what's
that would be
happened
the
since
first
then.
little group that Sam would go to build up the Avengers, but we'll never see them actually build it up. So who knows?
Who knows, man? I don't know. Like, I want to be excited for the MCU, but I'm also like, I feel like the MCU doesn't know what it's doing.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's in a vacuum. It's a decent enough movie, but when it's put in the grander scale on on in the MCU, when it should have been a follow up to things that it wasn't a follow up to, and then the thing that it was a follow up to ended up being disappointing. It just, yeah, it was just a very underwhelming movie, and I think going
Yes.
last in your list makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You're number 10.
My number 10 is actually the Ironheart show.
Mm.
Um, I was actually kind of flipping between this and Captain America. Captain America is my number 9. We'll might, I'm talking more
Okay.
about it later. But like, I just, let me put it this way. Ironheart I think it's one of those Disney Plus shows where this seems to happen almost every single time. Where like the first 3 episodes actually are very interesting. Like
Yes.
I actually am liking the characters. The side characters aren't really annoying me. Like I actually am liking where the plot's going. Like there's clearly something in the shadows that we need to deal with later, and so that was it was kind of fun following all the different plot elements. There were a couple of things here and there that annoyed me. That wasn't like they weren't annoying nearly to the same extent that even the Falcon Winter Soldier or the Moon Knight show were. And then like the episode 4 and 5 happened. Like I'm actually am still invested. The action is actually pretty good. I am still liking the characters fine enough. I was never like completely sold on Ironheart's like reason why she was doing all of this, but like
No.
overall, it was fine enough. And then
Yeah.
just in classic, if you're not Loki MCU show fashion, they just could not stick the landing.
No, at all.
Like, we've been anticipating Mephisto to show up in something since WandaVision. Like, oh, the WandaVision show is based on a thing that Mephisto has a major part in. Like, oh, maybe he'll show up there. He didn't. Oh, well, Agatha's also connected to him. Maybe he'll show up there. No. Oh, Multiverse of Madness. No. Loki. No. Like, there's been so many things that you think he's going to show up in. And, Spider-Man No Way Home. No? Okay. And then Ironheart, he's just kind of there in the last episode. I just, it doesn't really. I don't know why this character, after everything she's been through in this season, why she would take that deal.
Bro, it was one of the reasons I was just like it's just dumb. Like it was just like you did all of that. We had this whole thing. We did all this that we had fighting this guy, all this convincing the guy that it was terrible for you.
Hmm?
Like that's that's literally talking somebody out of doing something and then you literally do it yourself. Like
Yeah.
what? Like it feels like they just did it for shock value. Like
Yeah.
it's so like
The,
unnet like it makes so little sense. It has to be just because they thought nobody would think of it.
yeah. The
It's like it
ending
doesn't
of
make any
this,
sense.
the best analogy I can come up with, it kind of reminds me of the inverse of what happened with the first season of Legend of Korra, where like they had this big moment where her bending was taken away. And
Mm,
if they knew they were getting more seasons, they would have had her deal with that over the next season. But because they didn't know they were going to get another season, they wanted to end on a high note. They had her get her powers back.
yeah.
Whereas in this instance, like it genuinely feels like they were making the show as is, and then like they got a last minute studio note that they wanted more seasons of this, so they added the Mephisto stuff. They added her getting her actual sister back, which is weird that she thought the wish that she got was for the AI, not the physical person. I feel like that's even crazier. That
Yes.
her wish was to get the wish that she thought she was making was just to get her AI sister back and not the actual person. But whatever.
Which makes it so much weirder.
Yeah.
Because I understand that was like the most ridiculously advanced AI ever, and it was basically just a person who could just put themselves in the real world
Mm.
somehow, but whatever.
You
But
could make
it's
a new
like,
AI. Like,
yeah, it's not a real person. Like, but I'm not gonna
mm,
make a deal with essentially the devil to do it. Like,
yeah.
no.
So like she talks down the villain in a very heroic manner.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh, we need another season, so we gotta like tease her actually still being evil. We gotta tease her still having the hood. We gotta tease her glowy hands because glowy hands means evil now apparently.
Yes.
Glowy hands cut to black, and then like, oh, okay, I guess. And then the after credit scene of the Hood showing up at that magic shop. Like, but this isn't. But this show got shelved for 2 years, so they knew they weren't getting another season. So why still tease that stuff? I don't like, even if Ironheart does show up in a Young Avengers Champions, or whatever they call it, type thing, the last thing we saw of her was that she's evil now, I think. Unless she's the
Yeah.
villain of that project, I don't know if I want her to be there. Like, unless, I don't know, that just seems a weird place to end it if they are going to use her.
And yeah, and it's weird too because like they don't like it just doesn't make any sense. Like why would you I don't know. It's just so weird to me. Like I just
Yeah.
don't understand. Like what are we doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
it's fortunately one of those endings where, because it left such a sour taste in my mouth, I kind of like look more negatively on the rest of the show. Like, literally, with my
yes.
roommate, we sat down in the last episode. It was like, okay, it's been pretty good so far. Let's see if they can stick the landing. And once it cut to black, it was like, dang it, they didn't stick the.
They did not stick the landing. Like every MCU show is like this. It feels like it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, we're doing pretty good. We're doing good. You know what we need? A kaiju fight for no reason. You know what we need? Let's just completely make the last 4 episodes pointless. You know
Yeah,
what we need? Let's just rewrite this character at the most important moment of the series because we can. Like
yeah.
I
Like,
don't know, man.
it's
Like
funny that, like, outside of Loki, I think probably the MCU show that ends the best. Well, let me put it this way. I kind of put like Loki and WandaVision stuff kind of on it. I know some people don't love the end of WandaVision. Like, I think that is a natural conclusion to that show, to have that, like, more superhero-y battle. But
mm,
I almost feel like Hawkeye, weirdly, like, the ending isn't any worse than the rest of the show. The rest of the show is like
yeah,
fine, and the climax is
mid.
fine. I don't love that they bring Kingpin in just to blow him up, and they do the same thing again in Echo. But at least he wins in Daredevil, so, like, I don't know, it seems a little weird to introduce him back into the MCU just to have Kate Bishop blow him up and then Echo shoot him just for him to be fine, but then him losing. I don't know. It just seems a little awkward, but it's not like the worst thing ever. Whereas I think bringing in Mephisto to make a deal with a character who actively rejected the idea 2 seconds earlier is so weird.
So contrived and like I understand it's trying to sell this idea like anyone can be tempted, I guess, but it's like
Yes.
it's so like it's just it makes no sense.
Mm, yeah. All right. You're number 9.
Okay, moving right along. I have Peacemaker season 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think first of all, I applaud this show and I guess James Gunn for just being like, you know what? Nope. We're redoing it. We're retconning everything. I
Uh,
don't care. I don't want to hear, oh, the Snyderverse is still alive because of Peacemaker. Still like, no,
nope.
no, we're just nope. Yep, that wasn't really them. We just changed it. It's different now. We're not going to talk about it. We're moving on,
Like, you
etc.
could technically argue that this is going to be complicated. This season of Peacemaker takes place in a parallel dimension that almost everything exactly that happened in Peacemaker season 1. Just the only thing that changed was who showed up at the end.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, everything
Yeah.
else pretty much goes the same, but the important thing is nothing like we're moving forward.
Yeah.
We're everything we wanted to keep, we're keeping. Everything we don't want to keep, we're not, and
Mm.
we're just gonna just move on with that, which I think is the best thing to do. I like how the plot centers around trying to join the Justice Gang, this whole thing that we've already seen
Mm.
established. So I think that's really cool. I really like the can't like we're trying to we're it's really immersing themselves into the new universe. It's like trying to join this group. There's a Lex Luthor cameo. There's there's a
Yeah.
lot of really good thing, but they don't take away from the actual show. It's still good writing. The jokes actually land. John Cena is still a much better actor than I thought he
Yeah.
was. So, it works out
Absolutely.
really well. I think they do. I'm excited to see where this goes because, like,
Mhm.
if he gets into a movie or something, I think that would be really good for the universe and the character.
Yeah. Um, I'll talk about it more in just a little bit, but I think one thing that kind of maybe takes away from the season two a little bit more than maybe like a little less than season one is there were several. There was at least one episode specifically, but I think there were like big chunks of several episodes that were just kind of people talking about just like stuff. Like there wasn't like as
Yeah.
much action as I would have liked. Um, and I think it's okay to have these character studies and like really delve into relationships between different characters in a superhero medium. But that kind of thing I think works a lot better in a like a not saying this is the same tier as CW, but I think it works better in a CW show where you have 20 plus episodes per season. So if there is an episode that doesn't really go anywhere, you're not like, oh, that's one out of 8 episodes that's just kind of pointless now. Where large chunks of many of the episodes of 8 episodes that are just kind of pointless or don't engage me as much. Um, so like it is definitely uplifted by the fact that I do like all the actors. I do like just the situations they're put in. I think all of the feelings and all of the reactions they're having are very real. It just, to me, season one was definitely a lot more exciting and I think a lot more fulfilling because the season I think felt a little more focused, and I think just the stuff that was happening was a little more interesting. If that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Like it just I feel like they're coming to a more, it's more aiming towards something specific now.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's definitely not bad. I actually have a couple rungs up on my list, but when I do compare it directly to season one, it's definitely a little like I don't like it as much as I did season one, but I still think James Gunn did a really good job with that season.
Hmm.
Yeah, and like you said, I am very much so looking forward to where that where that storyline goes going forward.
Yeah.
Um, my number 9 is Captain America: Brave New World. Um,
Oh, okay.
I think I've said everything I need to say about it. It's not that it's the worst thing ever, like some people were trying to say. It's not even the worst MCU movie. It just isn't the movie I thought we were going to be getting for Sam Wilson's first real outing as Captain America. So
Yeah, and it feels like even with that, it kind of didn't do a lot, you know?
yeah, yeah, but oh well. I hope next time we see Sam, he's not shafted for for Steve Rogers. I hope they at least in Avengers Doomsday, I hope they have a similar amount of screen time. But who knows?
Yeah, I think so. And like I think they will. I know there's gonna be a lot of things going on, but I mean, I think it's gonna be they'll probably do a better job of making it more focused, which is weird to say.
Yeah. I mean,
But
the
again,
Russo
I guess we
brothers were
don't
the
really
ones that introduced Sam to the universe, so I want to believe that they will do him justice. But
right. Right. Even though it's gonna be weird though, a movie not with your name in it's gonna have give you more of a
yeah,
focus, but at the same time, I can kind of see it like probably when they kind of like okay, so who, they're like, okay, so wait, who are the Avengers right now? And it's like the Thunderbolts, oh, it's us. No, it's not really them. And then it cuts to Sam and his team, and they're
Uh,
like pretty cool. And yeah, I hope that they,
yeah,
not that they just do it all off screen, but I hope that they kind of like, okay, yeah, at some point we rounded up everybody that was like Avengers ish and kind of
yeah.
threw them together.
I think it would be cool if, like, I know it's going to be a long, very packed movie, but I think you need like just like a 5-ish minute sequence of, who are actually the new Avengers, not the Thunderbolts, the actual, Avengers with an S. The Avengers, like, fighting Absorption Man or some other, like, villain of the week type character that would show up in Avengers Assembled or was it, um, what is that one? Earth Mightiest Heroes. Like, just, like one of those, like, one off villain characters. Just have, Sam, the new Falcon, maybe Shang-Chi, Black Panther, like whoever they have fighting some random villain of the week. I feel like, they've been doing Avengers stuff. They are currently doing Avengers stuff. Here is an example of them doing Avengers stuff. They work well as a team together. Here's an example of that. Go from there. I think that would really help just establish, not only who the new Avengers are, it would also help establish Sam as their leader. But yeah, I have a feeling this movie's gonna be a little too. There's gonna be a little too much going on for that for that to happen, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So my
Your
number
number
eight,
eight.
I think.
Yes.
Okay, so my number eight, I had this year's Marvel Zombies episodes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I like how they kind of like, hey, this was something there was a lot of interest in with What If.
Mm-hmm.
Let's, capitalize on that. Now, some would argue that you could have done that with other What If stories, and also What If could have done a better job
Yeah.
imagining some better scenarios because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those, no, I'm like, no one has ever asked that, but that's besides the point. But yeah, no, I mean, I think they did a pretty, I think there were really good elements of this like zombies thing. I like how they were just like, nope, it's gonna be super violent because you can't really do PG zombies.
Yeah.
So very violent, very bloody, very gore, ish for animation, pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
I there are parts I like about it. There are parts that I don't know. I think they did interesting like character choices for who to focus on and things like that, which I get it. You want to kind of more lead into kind of the people who in real life are going to be more around for your movies, but
Mm-hmm.
also, I feel like if we're, I mean, is it like, I don't know. It was fine, I think. I think they did some really good things. I like how they did like, like T'Challa send off in the third episode was really
Mm-hmm.
cool and like other stuff with like how that affects them. And the Nova Corps getting involved was really cool because we
Mm-hmm.
haven't really seen that. Like
Yeah.
that was pretty awesome.
Bringing in Book
But
because.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like we're really getting, we're
Mm-hmm.
getting characters involved now. Whether or not that means we're actually going to get the actual MCU Blade, well, at this point,
Yeah.
probably
There's
not.
a rumor
But
that they're bringing in Jordan Peele to direct it. So if that happens, that'd be cool. But that'll be what the third director they bring in to do it.
I
But who
mean,
knows?
I don't know. Yeah, I heard that too. I'm kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that because I'm like, on the one hand, I mean, I think Jordan Peele is great at what he does, but I also
Mm-hmm.
feel like this isn't really what he does.
Yeah, I don't really know if he's ever
So
directed an action movie before.
think
So it's
so,
definitely going
because
to be.
I know obviously he has huge comedy ability, and then movie wise, he's been more in the horror scene.
Mm-hmm.
So this I don't really know everything he's ever done, but this definitely feels kind of new. So I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe, but he's also got talent. So I mean,
Yeah.
hey, and if he's actually willing to like, do it and
Mm-hmm.
finish it, it might be pretty good. But I don't. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I think the Marvel Zombies show. It's weird because this show did a lot of things that I feel like were almost apologies for things that hadn't happened yet in the actual MCU. Like we
Yes.
had a little group of, you know, of like, the Avengers that were left that kind of felt like the Avengers that should be in the MCU already. We had a little bit of an episode focused on the Young Avengers with I
Hmm.
can't remember any of their names. With
Miss
Ironheart, Kate
Marvel and
Bishop,
Ironheart.
yeah, Miss Marvel. Like I think that was really interesting. Bringing in Blade and also kind of making Moon Knight relevant again with kind of intertwined literally with Blade. So that was really cool, and I think you know I know it's not like directly connected to the MCU, but it's still MCU adjacent technically. Um, so it was cool seeing them actually utilize the characters that they have developed in some form to see them work together like that in
Hmm.
some capacity before the actual next Avengers thing. So that was fun.
Yeah. And they also, huh?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, no, and I also think I kind of feel like what you said with the whole apology thing, and also like, hey, like we haven't forgot about these characters because it does seem like
Mm.
every character we haven't seen in a while because
Shang-Chi.
there was right because I forgot about what is her name, Katie, his like
Oh yeah.
Aquafina's character. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I forgot that was a character. I was like, oh
Uh-huh.
yeah, he had like his friend slash not girlfriend.
Maybe I
I
don't
forgot how
know
that
if
ends.
they're.
Like that weird, like they expect them to get together at the end and they don't, friend.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I forgot about them, and yeah, and it was cool how he's like, oh, I got bit, and he like gives them the rings and like sacrifices himself, which I thought was cool. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's like it had potential, but it also felt like it was trying to do other stuff besides just tell the story. It felt like it was just trying to just like showcase characters that you may have forgotten or soon to come, essentially, which is kind of not really how I would have used it because it kind of feels like a misuse. But again, better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah, like I almost kind of wish, and I know you can't just you can't just make an animated show just but like I feel like there were certain things about this show that maybe would have worked better as those one shot 40 to minute to an hour things they were doing back in 2022 with A Werewolf by Night with the Guardians Christmas special. I think there was one other. Like, I think it would have been cool if we got a little animated Champions or Young Avengers, whatever they call it. I think that would have been cool to have, a one-off animated actual Avengers team that, at least some capacity, represents what the Avengers are doing. Like, I think there's a lot they could have done with Marvel characters in this animated format that would have been like, okay, let's get that stuff out of the way so that way we can focus fully on the actual Marvel Zombies story. But
Yeah.
with even with all that stuff, I do think it was it was still pretty solid.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what I'm saying. It wasn't bad or anything, but it's just a little, could have been a little better. But again, a lot better than it could have been.
Mm, yeah. All right. My number 8 is the Boys Present Gen V Season 2.
Okay.
Um, I really like the boys stuff. I was really impressed by season 1 of Gen V. And this season wasn't bad for sure. Like I still really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed watching all the different characters develop their powers, just kind of exist in the post season 4 of the boys world where like the soups as they call them have like kind of taken over like a lot of aspects of daily life. Yeah, they still have to go to school and like and deal with all the politics of that. Um, the villain that was introduced, who's like the new headmaster of the school, who was revealed later to kind of have mind control powers. He was very interesting. Um, One thing that I think this show did as well as it could have, but it still hurt the show, even though it was completely out of its control. One of the main actors of season one passed away in 2023, four, like right before the show was supposed to begin filming. I think it was 2024. So because of that, they had a like they pretty much had a finished script that involved this character. So because he passed away, they kind of had to kind of rewrite it kind of as they were filming. Probably some reports were saying, and I think they did as good a job as they could have. They involved this character's dad, who was a at least minor character in the first season. They involved him more, but because the how this in universe character's passing wasn't like written into the essence of the script, I feel it kind of impacted certain characters a little more, or it didn't impact certain characters as much as I feel it could have. There are certain character interactions that I feel could have been stronger if they had known that was going to happen. Like, I don't know, like I said, it's a little tricky. I understand that. Like I said, they did as well as they could have, but uh, it just it I don't want to say it hurt the show, but it's a very unfortunate thing that he was probably my favorite character from season one, and I would have liked to maybe would have liked them to recast. I don't know. I know it's tricky, but um, I think they did as well as they could have given the circumstances. Um, but I will also say one other kind of major, not flaw necessarily, but one other kind of thing that the show could have been a little stronger with is it turns out that the main headmaster villain guy was actually a different guy who was basically puppeting him. And even though I really, really liked the headmaster guy, the one who was actually in control didn't have nearly as much charisma and presence as the guy he was puppeting, which seemed a little weird. As I'm like their cadence was very different, which seemed a little weird. I feel like the actual the puppet seemed to have more just command of any room he was in than the actual guy who was controlling him. So when it was revealed that he was actually, this other guy is actually the mastermind behind the whole thing, and he's going to be the main villain going into season three, I don't know. It just kind of. Oh, did he die? Oh, he did. Whatever. when when episode 7 ended, and we knew that episode 8 was going to be this guy is now the villain. I'm like, I'm a little less interested to see what happens to this guy, and really because I hated the puppet so much. Um, but yeah, outside of those two, I would consider them minor flaws. Uh, I think all the characters that they brought back were very, very solid. The new characters are very good. Watching the characters, develop and grow their powers was very interesting. And I think it all lends itself very well into the Boys season 5, which will be like the grand culmination of the Boys universe, as far as I understand. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, and these are and it's one more season, right? The final season
Yeah.
is coming. Is
Mm,
that, I guess, this year, I guess, or
yes, it's supposed to be this year.
okay. Oh gosh. It's gonna be bad because it's just
Yep.
it's a final season, so they're gonna just
Mm-hmm.
Homelander's just gonna completely just
Yeah, it is one of those shows. There was a teaser for it that released a month or two ago, and I've decided just to not even watch any teasers or anything, just because, like, I don't know. I want
You
to
just want to go
I
in.
want to just experience this.
Yeah.
For yeah, it's because it's definitely one of those things that I didn't think I would like as much as I did. And season 4 was like not as good as season 2 or 3, but it still was pretty solid. So I'm hoping, just like with we're talking with Marvel stuff, I really hope they stick the landing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Like this is yeah. So do you think
Mm.
after this final thing, do you think they're gonna keep going with Gen V or like
Um, it depends on how season 5 ends. Like,
hmm,
will there will these will any of these characters die? Because they're gonna be most of them are gonna show up in the boys. Are they gonna die? Are they gonna are they is this hero school even still gonna exist? Um, will will they kind of be positioned as the new, they call it the seven, like basically their Justice League? Are they going to be the new Justice League parody things? Then Gen V season 3 would just basically be them kind of finding their footing as the new Justice League. I think that could be cool.
mm,
I just really don't know. I just have a feeling, um, something that like kind of, it's either going to be where season 5 ends with like the grand plan is to wipe out Soups entirely by basically making everyone powerless, or it's like once we kill Homelander, other dominoes will fall, and we can basically position this new group of heroes that we actually we trust to kind of help you know make superheroes what they actually are supposed to be. So if
interesting.
they
Okay.
if they do basically cure all superheroes, then I don't really know how season 3 of Gen V could happen. But if they are positioned as the new Justice League, I think that could make for an interesting season 3. Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I still need to get. Yeah, I mean, this show. I want to get into like this whole universe, but I just got so like I don't know, man. Like, I got so like scarred after watching. I'm like, oh wow, this is like I knew it was
Yeah.
violent. I just wasn't prepared.
I think, let me put it this way. I'll talk about this more in just a second, but my roommate and I, we watched both seasons of Peacemaker this past year. Uh, we just fully missed season 1 when it came out, so we watched that one and then went into
Hmm.
season 2. Something about Peacemaker just seems to go down smoother than the boys. Like, I like the
Right.
boys a lot. There's just something about the writing of Peacemaker that just makes the violence feel less. I don't know.
Gory,
There's something
violent.
about it affects me less.
Because
Whereas the
it's
boys,
still
like,
violent. That's what I'm saying. Like it's
yeah,
still violent. Like I'm not against violent shows, but I think it's just how
yeah,
it's just like brutal
it doesn't
violence.
like revel in his violence like the boys does. I think
Yes.
Invincible is another example of like a violence done right, whereas the boys, like, when it's almost like the violence is like when a violent thing happens, or when a very uncomfortable like sexual or
Hmm.
thing happens, like look at
They
this, we're
just
edgy.
sit
Like,
there.
it's yeah. I think it takes itself a little. It's like it kind of likes the fact that it's edgy like that. Like, other superhero things don't do this, whereas Peacemaker, it's like we're gonna be a superhero thing that also happens to be a little violent, not a little, a very violent. Um, so yeah, I think if you can get past the first 3 minutes where Hubie's girlfriend gets hit by a train, um,
Eviscerated.
yeah,
Ah,
I think if you can get
that
past
was
that,
it was the
you'll like
fact
it.
that he was still holding her hands was the
Yeah.
made it so much worse. I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, like I, whew. I
Mm,
just still can't get over that. Was like that's the craziest thing that ever happened. I ever saw. I was like, wow, I was not ready for today.
yeah.
But anyway,
You're number 7.
okay. So number 7, I have Daredevil: Born Again.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, first of all, Daredevil being back is awesome.
Hmm.
That's just a given. Like, they brought it back being awesome. And then, they decided, hey, we're gonna get the right people on this eventually, and then
Eventually.
figure things out, and we know how to write things. Like, okay, cool.
Mhm.
So and I think they do a really good job. It starts to feel like the old Netflix show did at a certain point. There are times where it feels a lot unfocused, but the big thing is, we got Matt back. He's doing his thing. And I just
Mhm.
love it. They're like, he's like, well, I'm gonna be the mayor. Well, I'm gonna be a vigilante. Well, I'm gonna stop you. Not if I stop you first. And then it's like, yeah, and then it just goes from there. They love, and the things they keep it. The action is as good as it's ever been in a lot of cases. They do a
Mhm.
really good job with that. They do a lot, like the scenes are really just you feel the weight of a lot, especially with the Kingpin. You just
Yeah.
he does it so well. He's just talking and like intimidating. He's so scary. Like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
I'll just bite you, and then he just, he just
Rips the guy's head off.
yes, like actually, and you're just like, oh, like I knew you could do that, but the fact that you did do that was pretty
Mhm.
metal. I'm not gonna lie.
And I
So
liked
like,
I liked how as the season progressed, he got just like a little bigger over time. Or like I'm hoping next season he's like, you know,
he's just like into the Spider Verse. He's just
yeah,
like as big as the room.
yeah. Because Vince D'Onofrio has always been a big guy, but he's never been like that wide before. And maybe there
Yeah.
was a little, maybe they might CG it a little bit so they'll emphasize that. But like he's always been a
Yeah,
very tall guy.
probably.
Um, but him being just like a little bigger, I think will help like really cement him as just like that is Kingpin.
Yeah, no, it's like he just has to be enormous. It works.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you're like, yeah, he probably could rip somebody's head off. He's that big.
Hmm.
Yeah, they do a really good job of kind of getting back to what we all loved about the original Daredevil show. And I love too that like new season's not taking a long time. New season's gonna be back in March, so we are we're rolling, which I really
Absolutely.
like.
Yeah. And I think some people kind of overblow how bad the middle part of this season is. Because, yes, the first episode and the last 2 episodes, which were pretty much 90+% created by the original team that made the original 3 seasons, which are all very good.
Hmm.
Um, Probably season 2 of the original show was a little unfocused with both Punisher and the hand stuff going at the same time, but like it's still overall a very good show. Um, since episode 1 and then the last 2 were pretty much fully made by the original team, those were stellar. But I think people kind of don't give the middle as much credit as I personally think it deserves. Like I'm actually all for like that episode 4 or 5, whichever the bottle episode in the bank
Hmm.
was. I actually really liked that episode. I know it didn't progress the story at all, but it was fun
It was still
seeing
a good
Miss
episode.
Marvel's dad there, just kind of randomly. That was fun. It was showing how like civilian Matt, who was still trying his hardest not to be Daredevil,
Hmm.
you know, he forced into a
Can't
situation
stop.
where he has to be Daredevil. That was
Right.
really cool.
And then, in for a penny, it's like, well, I've already got the mask on, so.
Yeah. And then I think Muse not he wasn't the most compelling villain, but I think he worked for this point in Matt's career. The courtroom scenes were all at least pretty
Mhm.
good. They weren't like as dynamic as the first, the original show. They were still pretty good. I like the little bits we had with Punisher. That's always great to see. Um,
And the little team up is always awesome.
yeah, yeah, but I think kind of like ironically, this was like the first MCU show in a while that like I think actually did stick the landing pretty well. Like
Yeah.
ironically being the fact that almost every character is kind of at a low point, that almost made it feel, and we are getting another season, unlike some things that teases another season that doesn't come. Because we know we're getting another season, they were basically able to, for lack of a better term, like, Empire Strikes Back it.
Right. They
And
kind
I
of
think,
end on a negative turn, the cities in Permal, etc.
yeah,
And like it's not going to be a long time. Like it's literally the next year.
yeah. It is kind of funny that just by the way the schedule works out, both season 1 and 2 of Daredevil Born Again will happen, will in real life take place before Spider-Man Brand New Day. So assuming that all the Kingpin stuff gets wrapped up before that movie comes out, that movie will just basically go back to existing in regular New York. So I find that kind of funny.
Probably, yeah. Or there'll probably be some remnants of stuff, but like, yeah.
Yeah, especially since we know Punisher will be in that movie, and so hopefully something will carry over.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
It's gonna be awesome.
yeah. No, I'll talk about it a little more later.
Yeah.
But right
Okay.
now, my number 7 is Peacemaker.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
like I said, I actually watched season 1 and 2 this year, so maybe I'm a little more biased and kind of like putting them both here. Um, but yeah, I think season 2 was pretty good. Like I said, I have that minor issue where I felt like there were a lot of scenes where like I appreciated them delving more into Chris and like it was his just his mental state. Like I, even though it turned out to be the Nazi world, I can completely understand why he would be conflicted, why he would, like the episode 6 said, like, be just ignorant, just like not wanting to look for the signs of this actual horrible place he's in because you know a hardcore that he actually can have a relationship with his brother and his dad who seem to be on good terms with him, something he never had growing up. Like I could see why that would be tempting for him. Um, but I still do wish there was like maybe a little more action here and there. Um, maybe even like a little more. It, I don't know because I think on one hand I kind of wish that this show had maybe a little more did a little more to tease future DC stuff since this is James Gunn's project. He is the project manager of the entire DCU at the moment. Like, I think it would have been kind of cool to tease more DC stuff. However, I also, to an extent, don't necessarily think that this show should be required viewing for the DCU because it is,
A show.
extremely R rated. um,
Yeah.
So I don't want people to go off of Superman, which is a lot more lighthearted, and go
Right.
into this expecting it to be of a similar vibe, and it is completely different.
Yeah. There will probably be like references and stuff and like that, but I don't think it's gonna be like, hey, you need to watch Peacemaker to understand what's going on. I think they've seen kind of I feel like James Gunn specifically like seeing especially how that's kind of hurt Marvel over the years.
Right.
Will kind of be like, yeah, let's keep the show stuff in the shows and
Yeah.
the movies in the movies.
Like I think, like for Man of Tomorrow, obviously you'll need to see Superman, and I think watching Peacemaker would probably help since there is that Lex Luthor scene. There is the stuff
Hmm.
with Chris, not Chris. I don't know what his name. Rick Flag Senior. I
Oh
think that
yeah.
always play some into it, but I don't. I want to think is not going to be required viewing for that, but if it is, I've seen it, so it won't matter.
Yeah, it will be
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Sorry.
and yeah, like I said, even though it is a very violent show, it doesn't it feels more like a a more standard superhero show that also happens to have violence in it, unlike something like The Boys, which basically pauses the show just to have gratuitous violence, and that's the point of it. I think this show has a much better balance of, for that. Um, so yeah, the show actually, it definitely impressed me a lot more than I thought it would. Like it's one of those things where like I've heard a lot of people say they liked it. Maybe it's just because at the time the show came out, I hadn't really like I hadn't really seen a lot of shows like this. I hadn't seen The Boys by the time when the show came out. I didn't actually watch this till like mid 2022. This came out in 21. Invincible was probably the closest thing to it. I think that was even the first like violent superhero show I'd seen, but even then
Mm-hmm.
that was animated, so there is that
It's
mental
different.
distance between it. Like, yeah, like when Battle Beast was beating the crap out of Mark, like, yeah, there is a lot of blood, there is a lot of violence, but it's still a cartoon. Um,
Right.
so there is that disconnect. Whereas, you know, jumping straight into The Boys, those are all people. Like, it is all like something in my monkey brain is like you know is not actually happening, but is closer to reality than a cartoon. Um, but I do think this show, at least I like how this show handled its violence and language and all that better than even The Boys did. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there's something
okay.
about it. Just like kind of like you said earlier, it just kind of works, how they do it. They just kind of
Mm,
like it's still incredibly violent. Like,
yeah.
but it just isn't to the point where it just makes you I guess I don't want to say uncomfortable, but like it just makes you just
Mm,
like oof.
yeah. And I mean, my main complaint, if you'll call it, with season two is I kind of wish it were even more violent. like, like I almost kind of wish that there were more scenes of Chris being in the Nazi universe, like kind of, killing who would end up being good guys because he was being influenced by his dad and brother that they're the evil ones. Like I think that it would have been cool to have more scenes of that and having to like realize like, oh, I've been doing bad things like this whole time. Like that's I think what could
Right.
have been like there was that one scene in the bank or that one building. I would have like just maybe one or two more little sequences of that. So
Just little stuff to kind of it would also give more weight to like, oh, I have to give this up, you know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. Okay, you're number 6.
Okay. My number 6 is the final season for My Hero Academia
Oh,
that
okay.
just came out. Yeah, so
Mhm.
that was that actually just ended a couple weeks ago, not too long
Mhm.
ago. But yeah, it's been a long time coming, man. The show's been going for a long time, had 8
Yeah.
seasons, I think 3 or 4 movies, a lot,
Mhm.
there was a lot going into it. And it kind of felt like the last really 2 or 3 seasons was kind of just one big fight, which
Mhm.
is kind of cool, but also kind of gets old. But no, I mean it's a really good show. I almost think it's just a really great idea how they execute this world and everything. And they also did something that I really appreciate. Like after they meet the final bad guy and the ultimate moment and do it, yeah, they win. And then they have like 3 like aftermath episodes, which I
Mhm.
really like. Because so many times when you watch a show, once the like ultimate conflict is completed, they try to just like in the last like 8 minutes of
Yeah.
that episode be like, all right, this is the end of the show forever. This is how everybody ended up. Bye. And
Right.
then that's all the closure you get. But this show they did a great job of okay, the episode's over. Now this episode is about, the aftermath of this next
Mhm.
episode is about other people who were involved, what's going on with them, these other storylines, how are people moving on with their lives, how are we, fixing the planet? because it almost
Yeah.
broke and things like that. And then they have one final episode where essentially it's like a 10-year jump epilogue, which I think is
Mm.
really cool because they kind of like, it kind of gives like, okay, what happened to everybody? It's like, oh yeah, well this person grew up to be this and that. And like I like too how like it's actually an 8-year time jump, and some people look different, and some people look exactly the same, which I kind
Yeah.
of like because that's kind of realistic. Like,
Mm.
after 10 years, some people change, but some people you're like, yeah, you still look the same.
Mm.
So it kind of works really well, and I think they just did a really good job. Like you could tell they really cared about this show and this universe because like they just gave it extra time to kind of like marinate and stuff like that. And you kind of, and like,
Mm.
it's like, and I think it's too, because this was a shorter season than most seasons, just because, like,
Mm.
it was kind of already, not already over, but like, you kind of knew it was ending. Like, all right, come on, we can wrap this up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it ended up working out. Surprisingly, a few people that I was like, oh, they're dead, just are fine.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, which is weird because like other people definitely died. So I was kind of like, okay, that's interesting. But, it is what it is. But
Mm.
it was a really good show. So, I thought gotta give it its flowers and its ultimate
Mm.
send off.
Yeah. It's a show that I really liked the first three-ish seasons of. Then somewhere around season five, I was kind of lost interest. Like I
Yeah.
know it's good after that. I don't know. It just kind of wasn't what I wanted anymore. I just kind of fell off it. But from like the clips I've seen from people's reactions and stuff, like I am glad that it was able to resolve as well as it did. Um,
Yeah, no. And I think it had a really good ending too, because it just like, if they just kept forcing more, it's like it did end with the initial conflict essentially.
yeah, yeah, and I think, like you said, it's it's good that it had those epilogue episodes because there is that side series, the Vigilantes
Oh
show,
yeah.
like, but that's not you're probably not gonna like you know have any kind of satisfying conclusion to these characters in that show. Um, and like there might be a movie or something down the line, but like I said, essentially because the last couple seasons have been this grand battle, it does sound like it was kind of necessary just to like establish how these heroes or how the world reacted to all that happening. I think that's good.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting. And I think it's yeah, and I kind of want to check out this like want that vigilante show. I was checking it out. It's like because it's like kind of connected, like not necessarily to like all the characters, but it's the same world. So
Mm.
I'm interested to see how that. I might have to check that out too.
Yeah.
So I think there another season coming out. But yeah, it's a really good show. If you ever
Mm.
get around to finishing it, I highly recommend it. But
Okay. Nice. My number six, a show that going into this year, I barely even knew it was happening. But now that I've seen it, I'm like, wow, I wish I had, actually thought to anticipate that. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
yes.
Like pretty much every year, and there's actually one other instance of this happening. Um, every year there is at least one superhero, either movie and or show that I just completely write off. It's not on my anticipated list. Period. It's just like I might know what's happening. I might not even. Just like oh that's happened. I might get around to it. This year, what and then it comes out and like wow that actually really impressed me. This year, at least one of those was your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like,
Like
mm,
absolutely because it does a real like it's really good. Like I know that like we've done Spider-Man in high school a million times,
yeah,
but that's I feel like that's the best where he's at his best. And two, like I said A and two. What am I doing? But like and also like they just do it really well. I like how it really feels like he's balancing like work and in school, well not work, school and his internship kind of thing and his real internship, which is being Spider-Man and like all the stuff. I also like well, I guess three things I really like about it is it does Spider-Man well.
Mhm.
It subverts your expectations and it uses new characters slash you know, different characters well. Like
Mhm.
the characters are either basically brand new or so different than usual in one way or another that it's like, oh, I never thought about that.
Mhm.
So really excited. I will talk about it in a little bit also, but yeah, it was a
Mhm.
really good show.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to spend too much time on it since it is higher up on your list, but like the main thing I'll say, and the main reason I wasn't even like really considering it was I thought for sure that I was going to hate this art style. Just
Hmm.
something about the trailers just made it look choppy and bad,
It looks cheap.
but it didn't. I think it actually looks really good. Like, especially by episode two, I'm like, wow, this is it's a good, like,
Yeah.
it's good. I don't know. Um, and yeah, like, I really liked how they handled Tombstone. I think like them kind of planting the seeds for Norman to go places like it's yeah. I'll you to talk about it more later, but I do just it's to the point where like we'll get to this more next time, but season two of the show is absolutely you know gonna be heavily anticipated. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I am very excited. Has season two been announced? Do we know?
I, right after the show ended, they said that they were aiming on doing yearly seasons. I don't know if it's been like officially confirmed for, I guess, this year at this point, but I'm pretty sure the idea is that it will come out this year. But I'll double check that before next year or before the next video where we like do our most anticipated things. I'll like lock that in just to make sure. Um,
Okay.
but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a new season this year.
Okay. Sick. Yeah, no, really exciting. They did a really good job with it. I'm excited for it.
Mm.
All right, the top five.
Oh
And
yeah.
at number five, I have Thunderbolts from earlier this year
Oh,
slash New
okay.
Adventures. Yeah, so I really liked this movie. This was again one of those things I was
Hmm.
very not excited for. Kind of like you mentioned with Spider-Man,
Yep.
like we'll see. I don't really like it's like I don't even care for half of these characters. I'm not
Hmm.
really that excited. And for a little while I thought it was going that way. And then, oh no, this is good. Oh, this is really good. Okay, I
Hmm.
love this. I think they do a really good job of leaning like they make the ensemble cast work because they don't make people do things they're not good at in terms of like their character. They're like, all right,
Yeah.
when we need jokes, we're gonna use like the sarcasm for like Yelena and like John Walker and stuff like that. And then we're just
Hmm.
gonna have Ghost not tell jokes. And then when
Yeah.
we need like serious, when we need like more funny jokes and more over the top comedy, we're gonna do Red Guardian, we're gonna do Bob, and we're kind of just
Mm.
gonna let that happen. And then when we need like serious action moments and stuff like that, we'll let Yelena do her thing. We'll let Bucky do be awesome, etc. So like,
Yeah.
it was a really good job. Like the characters lean into it. I really like how they kind of like everyone kind of had their moment of like, this is the moment that made me awesome in my movie, essentially, which was
Hmm.
always pretty cool, especially when Bucky showed up with the same gun from Winter Soldier that went like the Nick Fury
Which
car
like
grenade
it doesn't
thing.
really make sense because like since they established that he's a senator now or a congressman, whatever, and like he can just all of a sudden switch into Winter Soldier gear like that always seemed a little awkward. I wasn't sure exactly
Absolutely.
what they were going for with that storyline, but it didn't matter. Like it worked itself out.
Yeah, it was so cool when he just pulls up and you're like,
Yeah, yeah, and I love that John's like, it's let's go. Which the trailer I always like to watch the trailer after the movie comes out to see if anything was changed. In
Mhm.
the original trailer, but John Walker goes, "Is that Bucky?" Like very like question, but in the ears like
Yeah.
it's Bucky.
Yeah, no. So yeah, no, but it's really good. I love what they do with Sentry. They don't
Hmm.
like you think they're gonna like underpower him, underutilize. Like, they're like, no, he's just broken as he
Yeah.
should be. It's like, okay, good. Like that because I was really like, I'm like, okay, are they gonna do this right? Is it gonna be he's powerful as long as he like thinks he is? Like, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
some weird MCU version that doesn't really work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was very afraid that the goal of this movie was to get this team to essentially fight an evil Superman. Which, as you know, from my complaints about the Suicide Squad, or not the Suicide Squad, Suicide Squad 2016, um, I feel like people that just punch good and can shoot good is not a match for Superman. And they
They
clearly showed in the scene that they did fight Sentry. Yeah, that's not what we're doing.
lost
That's
bad.
pointless. They lost bad. They like John's shield was bent so bad that no one could fix it to the point where the after credits scene was still bent, which is a little pokey, but whatever. Um, so then I really appreciate how the climax was actually no, we're not going to have them fight Century. We're going to have the Void take over the entirety of New York City. Yeah.
Yeah. It was and the void was so like one, it was just menacing because like the movie was like, yeah, we're doing great, we got it, and then just oh no, like
Mm-hmm.
I said this when we talked about this movie, but like the little girl getting like dark dusted scene
Yeah.
will just always just be like
Mhm.
the most heart stopping moment in a Marvel movie because it's just like and nobody was expecting that. Like, because it's,
Mhm.
like, it's after all this trying to get it together, like, oh, we're finally a team. Red Guardian finally, Alexei gets his moment and he's a hero. And yeah, everything's great, great, great.
Mhm.
I'm like, whoa, you can't do that. Like, and it's like it's like a 5-year-old girl, too. It's not like a person who can just get done. It's like, no, that was like the cutest little kid you've ever seen. And they just,
Yeah.
and you're just
Like even in the
like,
moment, even though you as the audience member know that they'll probably
right.
fix this, but like in the moment you're just like, oh no.
Literally, because like that doesn't happen, especially in Marvel movies. That
Yeah.
doesn't even happen in like real movies.
Mhm.
Like, so it was just such a like a
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
But no, it was like I wonder who the person was who was like, wait, guys, what if we have a little girl get dusted first?
First,
And they were
they didn't
like,
even
that's
establish
so
this as an
sick. You get a
option.
raise. Yeah, they're like, you're a terrible person. That's why we keep you around.
Yeah. Yeah. And like on top of just the story being a lot better than I thought it would be, the movie is just shot really well. Like the use of shadows, the use of colors, even before the void stuff, just every action scene, every just scene that happens in this movie just lit and shot very well, which is a far
Hmm.
cry from half of something like Thor: Love and Thunder, or even I felt like Captain America: Brave New World just looked a little off at times. Looked a little. I think I said in the review of that, it never really felt like a real movie. Just something about it never really was like I was never able to be engrossed by the movie. Whereas this, just from that opening scene of Yelena, like doing that base jump into that building and just systematically taking all those guys out, like that was just looked very good. um, Yeah, and then obviously the boy, just the silhouette with the eyes just looked
Yes,
so
so
good.
creepy.
Like, I didn't
Oh
even know we
man.
had the technology to do that kind of thing, and they did it.
Yeah, no, it looked amazing. Like it was just this most superimposing figure. You're just like, it's wild.
Yeah, yeah, and just to kind of to put into reference just how much this movie impressed both of us, because it's just year number five, mine is up a little higher. Um,
Hmm.
on your top 10 most anticipated things, this was your number 10. And for me,
Okay.
it wasn't even listed. It was my,
Was
like, I
it
had
like,
number 12.
not even honorable mention?
It was number 12 in the honorable mentions.
Okay, okay. Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see
Um,
how it got, surely our expectations were exceeded.
absolutely. And yeah, I'll talk about it a lot more later.
Yeah,
Um, my number five was Daredevil.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to go too much into it, but like it's definitely not as good as season one, two, or three of the Netflix show. But considering that they didn't have the original creators at first, um, yeah, like considering they kind of have to like place it kind of in the MCU to an extent, um, like I think it did about as well as it could have done given the circumstances. Would it have been better if Foggy and Karen and the other characters we'd like from the original show were around more? Absolutely, but they it's not like they were completely absent. However, I do think that the new characters they added, like that the private investigator he had on retainer, didn't really like him. That new girlfriend, didn't really like her. Like that, like psychiatrist therapist lady, didn't really like her. Um, but whenever it's focusing on uh, uh, the kingpin and his wife and like everything with the criminal underground, that's great. Whenever there is Daredevil action, that was always really good. And yeah, those last two episodes, especially, like when you could just feel that the old the old writers were back, like that just yeah, I think it did. It did what it needed to do about as well as it could have given the circumstances.
Yeah, definitely. Because yeah, it's going through oh, we have this team. Nope, JK, we're getting the old team, etc. Like doing all that. Like, and I feel like this next season too is gonna like really tell a lot.
Yeah. I do hope that I don't think this is going to happen, but I do hope that in future seasons they get the same cinematography and lighting crew from the original show, because that show is lit so interestingly. Like the saturation on like yellows just really pops, that makes it look like very like grimy in a way that I kind of like. Um, Scenes that are shot in the dark, you can actually see what's going on, which I'm like, even the episode one of this new show was the fight with Bullseye was a little too dark. I felt like there's direct comparisons I saw online between a scene where Matt was sitting in a courtroom and like the light is like coming through the windows, kind of reminiscent of him sitting in a pew at a church, and it just didn't. And like, but because of this show has that thing that a lot of modern movies and show has, where like there's a lot of beam lights and backlights and stuff. It didn't really feel like it didn't really feel intentional that the beams coming through the window were supposed to look like a church. It just looked like every other shot from the show. Whereas when the original show had him in a church or had him in a scene that was supposed to represent, like a crisis of faith or whatever, with those kinds of lights, it felt very intentional. Here, those scenes, they're clearly there. They just weren't as impactful because just the way things looked, it wasn't quite as good. So I hope in future seasons they kind of um, they can make that just overall look visually a little better.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, not the worst. There's other things I think do look worse, but I think it could look better. Um, but yeah, like maybe I am also ranking this a little higher up because I did watch the original show as well as this season all of last year, kind of like with Peacemaker. But regardless, I think, and it could also be, um, you know, the most. I feel like the most of the people who are hating on the show like they do, you know, have been fans of the Netflix show since the premiere back in 2015, and they've been anticipating something like this since 2018. So what, 7 years?
Yeah.
Um, because I was only really anticipating it for like the week break I took between seasons, and I wasn't like a diehard fan. I've not been, you know, a life, you know, a like a long time fan like that. I think I can appreciate it more than they can, which, you know, both are valid perspectives. I just feel like because of the way I view the show, I come away a little more positive towards the new one. Yeah.
Makes sense. And there are always gonna be people who just, oh, I don't like it for whatever reason, and
Mm,
just, you know what I mean? So we can't be that.
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. I have a feeling our number four is going to be the same, but we'll see. What's your number four?
Why do you think it's gonna be the same?
What's your number four?
It's Fantastic Four.
Oh, okay, never mind. It's not. I'm
What's
actually
your
that's a little
number
higher for me.
four?
Invincible. I was thinking like three movies
Oh,
are on top,
okay,
but it's
okay,
whatever.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
Um,
that's fair.
actually,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
yeah. So I think part of it's because it's, number four, but but no, I mean, so basically, I think Fantastic Four was really well done. I
mm,
really like that one. We redeemed the franchise. Yay!
yes,
It's not like this is the first time the movie's actually been, a success. We did a great
hmm
job. It and they do a really good job. I like how they make the characters very relatable. They make them likable. They don't really have the like. I wouldn't say they don't have the usual conflict, but the conflict feels fresher. Like, it's not this thing because, like, we expect, oh, it looks like, Ben's like, I hate being the thing and I hate being ugly and not a person. Like, there was
mm,
basically none of that. Johnny is, he's Johnny, but he's still a genius. He
yes,
makes his, he pretty much deciphers an entire language based on, like, what, like a couple sentences, which is basically insane.
yeah. I
Reed
like that he's
is
still a goofball, but he is still
right,
clearly competent enough to help Reed in his lab.
right, which is the only reason he would actually be there. Because if he was just
Hmm
an idiot, he wouldn't actually be in that room when they, wouldn't actually be with them when they get their powers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really important too, because there are smart people who are also just goofball. Like a goofball does not a lack of intelligence; it's just a personality trait.
hmm Yeah. But I really liked his interactions with the Silver Surfer.
Yeah,
I think like if you are gonna make it a female version, like I think that's a good way to take it. Where like you know like his kind of infatuation with her was what drove him to learning that language. Her like kind of taking liking to him is what helped her rebel against Galactus. Um, I just think that was done very well. I know some people are so weird about them not using the male version, but like it literally doesn't matter. But regardless, I think the way that was implemented was done very well. Um, everything with Silver Surfer, stellar. Just like the way like she like literally used the surfboard to surf like on the black hole like wave
yes,
was awesome. Like
so sick.
surf through that wormhole was done very well.
Yeah, and just really like just really cool. Like I love the like reflection off of the Silver
Mm,
Surfers was really like Johnny's spot. Like when Johnny sees his fire reflect off of her. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I thought a lot of the stuff with like I like how the world just embraces the Fantastic Four as just, oh yeah, they're the best. There's no like,
Yep.
like, oh, we hate them, we love it. It's like, no, they're pretty awesome. They've saved
Hmm.
us a couple of times. They're kind of just awesome.
Yeah.
Reed is just objectively the smartest dude. He's like, yeah, the Reed Richards is coming up with an idea for like, basically, phase shifting the planet. Everyone's like, oh, okay,
Oh.
cool. Like nobody like I love how when they come up with the idea of we need to put a bunch of these on Earth to basically move the Earth, nobody's like, no. Everyone's like, cool, you got it, bro.
I
Like
wish
there's
there was
no
one line. Like, if there was anything of a change about this movie, there's
yeah,
exactly one line I would add, where it was
that area.
everyone on the planet agreed except for Latveria. Like, that's all you need to say.
Yeah. Or
Like,
better
there was
yet, if
a
he just like planned for Latveria just not to be involved.
yeah, like we planned around it. Like we put like two or three like kind of at points around the city or land,
Right. So we
whatever.
could just kind of, yeah. I do like how at that one conference or whatever, the Latveria chair's just
Yeah.
empty. Just
I really
says so
liked.
much.
I think this movie could have benefited from a like I said earlier, like a villain of the week type thing at the beginning of the movie, but there was that
Yeah.
montage that basically showed it.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I don't know. I've kind of gone back and forth about if I feel that sequence could have been longer, um, but it, I think it got the point across without taking up too much of the movie. But also, I think this movie being 20 minutes longer wouldn't have been a bad thing because I like the characters so much.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think, I think that's true. It's really good when you have new characters to have kind of a little moment where you can do that. But, I think like the montage did a really good job anyway.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. The movie did Galactus justice. Actually made him look big and imposing in a
Yes.
human shape as opposed to a stupid cloud like in that old movie. Um, it was a little contrived that you know uh, Susan being like this is my son. I'm gonna fight for him just as much as I'm gonna fight for you, but I'm not giving him up, and you're all gonna be okay with that. They're like, okay, like that's a little contrived. They're just everyone on the planet is just fine with it now. No one else, like
Yeah.
no pushback at all after that. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's weird because like I still think that's so interesting how they have this like they have that whole like debate with the sun thing. Like, and again, I know you have the people's trust, but the fact that they told them every single thing about Galactus's encounter was
Mm,
just like I don't know if that was just a oh yeah, they'll get it. I'm like, no, they won't. Have you met people? Like
yeah, and I think that comes down to Reed, like in his mind, like he basically only works on logic. In his mind, it was the only logical choice to do this, and because it is logical to me, because it makes sense to me, it'll make sense to them. Obviously not.
mm, we're not Reed Richards.
Yeah,
Or they'll at least go along with me because they trust my logic.
yeah.
But it's an emotional decision. Not
Hmm.
yeah, that's so true. And I do love that his character. He's like the smartest man in the world, and yet can't understand the feelings of people sometimes. And I think that's so because he's still human.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
so important.
yeah. And even though there are clearly some scenes with the thing that were cut that I think could have delved into his mind state a little more, I don't think they were necessary. Mostly because I did like how we first of all we've gotten those kinds of scenes before in previous Fantastic Four stuff. We don't really need it again. I think, like I said, 20-ish extra minutes before fleshing out these characters even more wouldn't have been bad. I don't think we needed it to get the point across, especially since we did get a lot more of Johnny and Reed, like their little nuances more than previous movies.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, and the thing too also is that like, oh, what was I saying? I do think one thing I would have liked just get a little bit of Doom just because,
outside of the after credit scene, yeah.
yeah, because I don't know, like I don't the first time us seeing Doom being in Doomsday just
Mm,
feels wrong. Like
yeah.
I, we're basically prepping based on reputation alone. And I understand Thanos hadn't done a lot until Infinity War, but we at least like saw him and other people's reactions to him,
Yeah.
which kind of helped. Versus here, it's kind of just, hey, if you know, you know, and that's
Hmm.
it.
Right. Because currently, and I think it's the second little like Doomsday teaser. It's very effective. Thor praying to the All Father, like give him strength to take on this last enemy. For the sake of his daughter. I think that, in theory, is very compelling. Like, if Thor is having trouble with whatever's coming, that's a problem. However, like you said, because we don't even really know what this Doom looks like, what he does, what he's capable of, how people react to him just as a being that exists, it is muted a little bit, especially compared to Thanos, who was a major problem.
Right.
So Thor reacting this way to Doctor Doom, who we know is a big deal from the comics, like literally the only thing we've seen of him is the after credit scene of Fantastic Four, when he should have been at least referenced more than just Latveria existing. I think, yeah, it's a thing where you can't really like fault the movie itself,
Hmm.
but because we know that Doom, the Avengers movie that Doctor Doom is going to be the main villain of, is coming soon, it probably should have been there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It just feels very like, I'll be excited, but like I don't know, I don't know. There's not really a lot of. I mean, you can't really. I'm not just. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like there's enough behind this as
Mm,
far as like the hype, the preparedness for Doom.
yeah, well, we'll see. We're still, apparently the first trailer for that is coming out around the time of the Super Bowl. So
Okay.
around February, you know, we'll actually, see what the movie's about. So, all right, I'll talk about Fantastic Four a little more later because my number four is Invincible season three.
Yeah. Okay. That's my number three. I'll take that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Invincible stuff, and Invincible stuff is
It
always
is.
very good so far. Uh, I will say, I think this season was probably more carried by its finale, the last two episodes, than season one was. I think this finale is still very, very good, and not that the previous episodes were bad. I just think that season one was a lot more compelling throughout, and I think that everything that happened with Omni-Man was very satisfying because it was clearly built up to it. Whereas this season, each individual episode I think was pretty solid. I just kind of feel like the last two episodes, I feel like they could have been built up to a little better, and I feel I feel this was kind of a bit of a season of them just kind of doing stuff until the climax. You know?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. Not that the stuff they're doing was bad, it just wasn't nearly as exciting, especially since there was like clear emphasis on Mark being stronger now, and then that wasn't showcased anywhere.
Oh, I mean, again, I feel like it's kind of like, well,
Like
is
he
that
kept saying, "Oh, he can lift, 3 times what he was doing before. He's
right?
faster. He's stronger. He's much better now." And then the first chance he gets to fight something, he fights. He's fighting those like giant bug creatures in the center of the planet. He still can't beat them. He's losing. He's kind of losing to Powerplex. He's having trouble with the big dragon. Like, not that these are small potatoes, but like I feel at this point, after everything you've been through with your dad and everything in season 2, like you should at least be able to hold your own a little better. And then when all the other marks came from the other dimensions, uh, Cisco was not Cisco. That's not his name. What is his name? Why did I say
Oh,
Cisco? I don't know. What is the like Nick Fury of this universe? What is his name?
oh, Cecil.
Yeah, okay, I was close. See, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
watching a lot of YouTube shorts about the Flash recently. Anyway, Cecil was like, you know, like our mark has faced a lot, has faced a lot more than these marks have, so he should be prepared for this. And he's not like doing bad against him. I feel like he should have been able to do a lot better.
Yeah, like in theory, you should be a lot stronger because they haven't really fought anything on their level, whereas he's actively been improving.
Yeah, yeah. However, the last 2 episodes were still very good.
Oh yeah,
Um, and like it unlike it's kind of the flip with Ironheart. Ironheart, I think the season itself was solid, and the last episode just cratered my perception of the entire show. Whereas this season, the of Invincible, the season's okay, but then the last 2 episodes being as good as they are uplifted everything else. Yeah,
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that final conquest fight
yeah,
was, whoo,
hmm
man, that was a great fight. Like,
yeah,
just absolutely bonkers. There was just peak animation. They do, Oliver gets in there and then immediately gets smacked, and then Eve gets there and immediately gets smacked, and then,
hmm
he's fighting him, and he gets re-traumatized this time on the beach, which was just like, as soon as you saw it, you're like, oh,
oh,
oh no, not again, and literally just wipes through all these, like, just do it. But again, Mark does a much better job here putting up a fight. I mean, he doesn't do it by himself. He kind of gets, kind of helps, at the end there. But at the same time, again, I feel like he did a much better job here than he had in previous seasons. So I do think
mm,
there is merit to him improving. I just think he had a lot of tough, stiff competition because we don't know
yeah,
how strong like the dragon guy really is in terms of Viltrumites and stuff like that. Like,
mm,
it's really interesting to see like if we could, have more fights that he's had before and come back. Like maybe if he like, fights Alan or something. Well, I guess Alan's gotten way stronger, so I guess that doesn't count. But
mm,
I don't know. Like maybe if Vanessa, like, or as he fights other people, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, there's a lot in terms of improvement. I would say, in theory, but yeah, I kind of say it was more told than shown this season. But I feel like
yeah,
next season that'll probably pay off better. And there's a lot of, I mean, I don't know, it's like a lot of other stuff, like a lot of relationships were like focused on in the season, like, Mark and Eve kind of get their
mm,
thing going, which, is good, but it's also like, okay, we kind of saw this coming really since like the end of season 1. So makes
yeah,
sense that we're finally doing that. And Oliver is slowly becoming a pretty cool character. There were some moments there where we were worried
Yeah.
about Oliver, man. Like, bro, I ain't gonna lie. Oliver with the Mauler twins was
Yeah.
crazy.
The Mauler twins being gone is crazy.
Right?
Like there is no hope of them being in
No,
a future
you
season.
ain't cloning
That's
that. Like, you can't clone a
man.
puddle.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Mm.
they gone. But yeah, that was pretty insane. But yeah, I really like how I like Oliver's whole thing where he just, he's rapidly growing. He's probably gonna be like high school by next season, it looks like.
Mm.
So, he'll be basically
Yeah.
almost Mark's age.
Absolutely.
At least looking that way. So that's gonna be pretty insane. Which is so wild because it's like he like because hit like the bug people, they like live a year is their like whole life, right?
Yeah.
But a
Pretty much.
Viltrumite lives for like centuries, so it's like
Somewhere in the middle,
how is somewhere in the
500
middle, but we don't really
years.
know where. I don't know if he's gonna like look a certain age and then stay that way, or just you know age centuries at a year's pace. Like I don't know.
Mm.
It's wild, man. But
Yeah.
no, it done really good. I really like what they've done with this character. I think they've done a really good job. I thought
Mm.
Oliver was gonna be really annoying, but he's actually really good. And I love how he has this, the conflict with Omni-Man where he's like, well, no, my dad's awesome. He's all
Yeah.
the, and it's like, yeah, bro, your dad here is not that awesome. Like,
No.
kind of tried to enslave the planet. So, like,
Mm.
but again, context is everything. Because, from Oliver's perspective, his dad's awesome and saved his world probably multiple times. And he's like, it's if you took Mark before everything went down the end of season one and was like, yeah, your dad's like this super evil dude, he'd be like, nah, bro, my dad's a hero. My dad's awesome. Like,
Mm.
it's kind of like he's talking to his younger self there, and he's just kind of like, no, man, it's deeper than that. Like, and I'm sure they're gonna have, I'm sure, Oliver and Nolan are gonna have their reunion at some point, and that's gonna be a big deal.
Mm.
But yeah, and also just so I don't know, a lot of like changes with like, Alan is just like this dude now
Mm.
who is fighting Viltrumites and like winning. So like,
Yeah.
that's really exciting. And him and Nolan kind of got this like kind of buddy cop thing going on,
Mm.
which I think is I didn't really know. That's pretty exciting. And then Battle Beast is just an absolute monster per usual. I'm sure that's gonna go somewhere amazing. And then we
Oh,
still have this, pending invasion of, Viltrumites. So I guess we're just I don't know if that's gonna be this next season or maybe, who knows, but I'm like if I'm them, I'm like freaking out still. Like that's still
mm.
happening.
Yeah. Don't have long to wait since it's coming back in March, same time as Daredevil, I think. So that's
Woo!
great.
Yeah, good. No wait times.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've
All right,
learned their lesson, which I love.
that was your number three.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, I kind of talked a lot there.
No,
You can
no,
keep going if you want.
no, that's great. Yeah, no, I'm ready to move on. Um, okay, so I need you to understand because I have a prediction about how your list is going to go. I need you to understand that my top three are really close. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And my number three was the only reason it's as low as it is top three, as low as it is because it was technically more anticipated than the other two. And it didn't
Uh,
you know, technically the other two impressed me more than this one did. Number
uh-huh.
three is Superman.
Really
Yes.
interesting.
Again, they're
Okay.
all
Okay.
really close together.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
did,
Okay.
unlike, like some people, I did in fact really like this movie. And it is one of the few movies, I think, in the history of movies where every time I watch it, I like it a little more than the previous time. I think I saw it
Yes.
4 times in theater somehow, which is more than I've ever seen any movie in theaters. Um,
Mm.
I don't think I've actually. Yeah, I haven't seen a movie more than twice in theaters before this, and I saw this 4 times. Um, and like there was definitely certain things about it that weren't as good as I was hoping it would be. I think visually there's certain parts of it that are a little, even like a little, almost look a little muddy, almost look a little like I don't really love what the camera is doing sometimes. The colors just don't quite as pop as much as I hope they would in some places. It's better in other places, but some places I think the color grading could have been a little better. Um, there's certain decisions that happen where I feel like if this were, I think I even said this in the review, if this were a, or Zack Snyder's Superman, I don't know if we would have been as lenient. Uh, like there are major changes with his origin that I think are fine, but I could understand some people being disagreeable with with those. Um, I still don't know exactly how I feel about him and Lois already being together, her already knowing that he's Superman. Um, Pretty much it being established that kryptonite is pretty much like, at least according to Luthor, already gone from the planet. I feel like that kind of, as a launching point for a universe, I think that kind of makes the universe feel a little smaller than it should have been off the jump.
Mm.
All that being said, I think those are my only complaints because the rest of the movie is awesome. Just all the action scenes, pretty good. Um, the character of Superman, pretty much exactly what I was hoping Superman would be like. Um, I like Superman with just like a little edge to him. He's not mopey. He's not depressed. He's not like angry all the time. He's like he has a good soul, but still has like that still can get like righteously angry. Like I think that's a good balance. Um, I really like this Lois. Uh,
Yeah.
I really like this, this Jimmy Olsen. I even liked that it was kind of like Jimmy that kind of solved the solve what was going on, and actually, Lois and Jimmy's escapades actually mattered to the climax as opposed to in BVS where Lois's whole thing didn't really matter. Um, I do wish that there was at least one scene of Superman and Jimmy actually interacting because there was like only one scene of them at the planet talking, or Clark and Jimmy talking. I wish there was one scene of Superman and Jimmy talking um, somewhere, but not like a huge deal. I really like this Lex. This Lex Luthor was
Love Lex.
just commanded every scene he was in. He looked the part. He sounded the part. Just an absolutely pro hater of just
Yes. Yeah. Just did like unapologetically the worst.
yeah. I even liked how they implemented the other superhero, or the other character. Like, I think the Justice Gang. I don't know how I feel about them calling them the Justice Gang. I feel like that's a little. I don't know, that just always felt a little weird to me. But like all three of them, I thought were very good. Especially Mister Terrific, basically stealing the show every scene he's in. Metamorpho. Uh, Being as versatile as he is, actually using his powers very well and joining the team during the Justice Gang at the end. Um,
Mm.
Crypto was not as annoying as I thought he would be. Like that's a kind of I guess character technically that I was afraid going into the movie that would be they would focus on him a little too much, and the scenes he was in would be like a little too long and a little meandering and annoying. But I really
Mm.
liked how they handled Crypto. Um, there were a couple moments where the CG, not on crypto, I think the crypto CG was great, but there were a couple of moments like where the CG in general maybe could have been a little better, but it's not a huge deal. Um, and yeah, the music throughout amazing. Um, yeah, it, I really like the movie. It just unfortunately for me, as far as the superhero movies that came out this year, it didn't impress me. You know, more. It didn't impress me as much as these other movies did, especially relative to how much I was anticipating it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I liked it.
Okay.
Again, it's really close. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
could
But
be number two or one, but just I think three for me is feels about right now.
okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know it'll be
All
a little
right.
higher for you as well. You can talk about
Yeah,
more
yeah.
later, but that's
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. All right. So number two, I
Mhm.
have Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Oh,
I
okay.
love this show.
Mm-hmm.
This
Mm-hmm.
show was awesome.
Yeah.
Like they killed it with this show. Like they understand, like I love it because they understand the characters really well and they understand it what the characters needed, and by understanding what these characters needed they were able to either make or reinvent characters that made it work. I like how
Mm-hmm.
they moderned it up so it's it's 2025 or whatever, and you're, but it's like because we got social media falls and all this stuff, and it's like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, stuff that like makes sense in our world makes sense in their world. It's like, oh yeah, of course Harry's like stupid rich, like he's like more of a he's like kind of like mini celebrity because they live in New York and his dad's the
Mm-hmm.
owner of the one of the biggest tech companies in the world, so like yeah, that makes sense that you would be like have the ability to have a bunch of followers and fake friends and ridiculous stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I like how he's still just a cool dude. He likes Peter as a person, all this stuff. I really like how the show also like flips expectations. It does a
Yeah.
really good job of doing that because there's so many moments where you're like, oh, this is gonna happen and it's gonna cause it's like, oh man, like he's gonna find out he's Spider-Man. It's like, oh yeah, no, he's cool with it, and he helps him be Spider-Man. You're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Norman Osborn helps him be Spider-Man? That makes no sense, but like, it kind of
Kind of works.
works. It kind of works.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I
you
like
also know
how.
there's something under the hood there that will,
Oh yeah,
matter later.
yeah,
Like,
and long term it's gonna go horribly because he's gonna
yeah.
know how to beat him when he becomes
Uh,
the Green Goblin eventually. But it's so well done how this
mm,
genuine relationship is just like you can just see the super small cracks even right now of like,
yeah.
hey, I'm just trying to help people and I just want to do this. Yeah, but Peter, you can do this, you can do that, you can be better. Because
Mhm.
Osborn has his goals, Peter has his goals, and
Yeah.
they're common on the surface, but overall there's some differences there, and that's
I
gonna be really
I
interesting and see
think
how
something
that
really
goes.
interesting they could do with Norman is like in this season, he essentially manipulated Peter. Like, I don't know, like he was on Doc Ock was the big bad guy, but like, you know, basically Norman's major goal by the end of the season was to take out his major competitor in Doc
Right.
Ock. So it'd be kind of cool if, in future seasons, basically every single antagonist is like someone that Norman specifically wants to take out. And then like
Right.
by the end of it, at some point Peter will kind of realize that's what he's doing, and then I feel like there's gonna fall out from there. Um,
Right. And he's like, no,
yeah.
this is just mutual. This is just good business, Peter. This is a mutual love relationship. He's like, no, you're using me for this. This is, I was doing this for justice, for what was
Ooh,
right. And,
ooh. Tombstone
and
starts getting in. Tombstone becomes
yeah,
a target of Norman, and he's like,
yeah.
I actually like a Tombstone in this show. Like, I don't want to go
That's what I'm
after
saying. They do
him.
Tombstone really well. And I think they did a good job of kind of like, one, his ascent makes sense.
Mm,
And two, it's like you really feel for him because he's such a good character.
yeah, absolutely.
And I think
Yeah.
I really like how they do that. And like, and it wasn't like a, oh man, yeah, Peter, I just use him. It's like, no, he generally likes bro. Like, he's just a good dude.
Hmm.
He's just in a bad situation. He makes it worse on himself, but he's a kid. That happens.
Hmm.
And I like, I really liked how they incorporate the other villains. Like, oh yeah, that's like they get their Scorpion, and that's really, like, he's a gang leader. He gets his abilities from Doc. I mean, they kind of all find their ways, but I'm just really interested to see how this goes, and I'm interested in how
Mm,
they add new characters from the Spider-Man's world here because I just feel like it's done a really good job. It's just really exciting.
yeah, it is. I find a couple things very interesting. One, like you said, I like how it's modernized, where Peter isn't just a loser. Like he gets to school, he gets to this new school, and he almost immediately becomes friends with an upperclassman just because he's funny and smart. Like I feel like it it's so it's so beyond cliche to have a character who's a nerd be picked on for being nerdy when like
Yeah,
he's
especially
specifically
in this.
going to a school of nerds. like
Right.
like yeah, there's still gonna be the jocks of those kind of school, but like when like Lonnie is as cool of a dude as he is, like because Lonnie likes him, everyone else just kind of likes him, and like the only reason there is any friction there just because of stuff that Lonnie has going on in his own personal life that that may or may not be be good. Um, I also like how they seamlessly incorporate characters like Daredevil. Just like it's not just a fan service moment. It was still a like still relevant to the plot to have a character like this involved. Um, it's also interesting that there hasn't been a an MJ or a Gwen yet. Like there is that one girl that he hangs out with, but I don't think there's any kind of like there doesn't really seem to be like a relationship going on there, at least not
No,
really.
no, no, no. I don't. I think yeah, there's no romantic relation there. But I do like how it's this really like tough. It's the balancing friendship and thing. And I like the part where it's like, oh, I'm gonna be late for this thing, and then it cuts to her at the thing with the ticket. She's like, I can't believe it, and you're like, oh, the classic Spider-Man couldn't make it. And then he's like,
Mm.
oh no, I made it, and then you're like,
Oh,
oh, he didn't disappoint, he did it. Oh yeah, I brought Harry. Oh,
yeah.
and it's like it. You still got the same outcome, but it found a new way that you weren't expecting to do
Yeah.
that. I think that's such good writing because it's just like, ah, man, that does like, for a second you thought, oh, this is gonna be great, and it's like, oh, it's not. And then like, but then she and Harry end up being great friends, yada yada
Mhm.
yada, and it's like, it's really cool, and I like how they work well off of each other. I like you said, the animation at first you're like, oh, this looks weird, and then after one episode you're like, oh no, we're good.
Yeah.
I'm fine. It just feels like a moving comic book, which is kind of ideal, I would say. I
Mhm.
like how you definitely see the potential for like he's still a young Spider-Man, but I could see him starting to like, get more used to it, get more, refined in his abilities. And I
Mhm.
love that scene where he stops holding back against Scorpion and he
Mhm.
realizes like, oh no, I'm actually like really good, really strong.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
yeah, it's a really
Yeah,
good show. I liked it a lot.
yeah, and I did look it up. At least the plan is for a new season to come out later this year, so probably like around September or so.
Woo!
So yeah, that's good. My number two is the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I said pretty much everything I wanted to say about it. Uh, I think the most emblematic like thing about this movie is as soon as the credits rolled, I turned to my roommate who I went to go see it with, and the first thing I said was, "Yes, they finally made a good one." They hadn't made a good one of these before. They finally made one. This is their what fourth, kind of fifth chance of making a good one, and they finally did it. like, I don't think any movie is perfect, but this is like to me pretty much about as good as a Fantastic Four movie should be. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like I said, I think you said this in a review of it. Uh, I think go back to Superman for just a second. I think Superman probably could have used 15 to 20 extra minutes just to like help the movie breathe and just to kind of help it help certain character relationships feel a little better, help you know helping things not just go at a breakneck pace like they did. Whereas Fantastic Four, I think 15 to 20 extra minutes would have benefited it just because I like this world, I like these characters, I like everything that's going on in this movie so much. I think the length that it is isn't bad, but 20 extra minutes would have it wouldn't have felt too long if it were 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I would have liked to spend more time with these characters, in this city, in this world, because I don't think we're ever going to go back here after everything that happens with Doomsday and Secret Wars. I don't think we're going to go back to this like 60s era New York again. So
Mm,
I would have liked to have experienced this a little bit longer. And there are very few movies that have said that about where like I actually wish this were longer. um,
that's fair.
so yeah, I like that it was good. I like that it was focused on just one major conflict the entire time. Um, it wasn't like the other one with Rise of the Silver Surfer, where you had Galactus as the main like the main antagonist, but then you also had Doctor Doom just around for some reason. But like, not that I don't like Doctor Doom, but like he was the main villain of the first one, and then he's just kind of also here, just because we're just focused on Galactus stuff, able to devote the entire movie's runtime to that. I think that was a you had characters like Mole Man, and I think one other kind of teased during the opening conflict, but they weren't like a major antagonist soaking up screen time. Um,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and I mean, it does a really good job. I do like how it kind of like, you're kind of in this world. You're kind of in this world of like, oh yeah, like it's like this 60s but futuristic kind of
mm-hmm.
thing. I do think they could have spent a little more time exploring like the way the world was like, because it's like part of it's like, is that just how their house is? Is everyone's house like that? Like,
Yeah. I also would have been kind of cool to see how the rest of the world, like what the rest of the world
yeah,
thinks about the Fantastic Four, because we know that New York likes him, and like we know that New York specifically is like futuristic,
yeah,
metropolis for a better lack of a better
yeah.
term. But like, is the rest of the world this way? Did Reed like, is he sharing this technology with the whole planet? Because Sue is on the UN, so I imagine there is, the rest of the world is at least a little more technologically advanced than standard 60s is. But I would have liked to see how the rest of the world reacts to them existing, and then that would have made the rest of the world not liking them all at the same time feel a little more impactful. But um, yeah, it's not a huge
Mm,
deal. Like I yeah I think I would have, if it's between spending more time seeing how the people of Earth think about the Fantastic Four, if it's between that and them being in space, I personally would have gone with them being in space more. Um, just because I think the just the action and just how all of that looked so good. I think setting a good chunk of this movie in space was you know I think that's the right decision.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think they probably. I mean, the rest of the world probably is like, you know has technology like that. It's probably biggest in New York, but like, how, even how they set up the towers around the world so
Mhm.
quickly and so easily.
Yeah.
Obviously, the fate of the world was at stake, but still, it gives the idea that like, yeah, they've probably been really good at like, just accepting and being like sharing the love with the world essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish that movie did a little better. It did like 580 million, which is not bad, but that movie I think deserved to do maybe a billion is pushing it because even Superman didn't make a billion, even Jurassic
Mm,
World didn't make a billion. But I feel like it should have done a little better than it did. But regardless, it's still a I still think it's a just a quality wise an overwhelming success for Marvel. Yeah.
definitely.
All right. Before we get to our number ones, are there any honorable mentions you had?
Yeah, so I had Ironheart, like you mentioned earlier. I
Mm.
also had the Dispatch, like Telltale
Yeah.
game kind of thing.
Hmm.
I thought that was really cool. I haven't played it, but I've heard good things about it, so
Yeah.
I thought it was
Same.
worth at least mentioning. I thought that
Hmm.
was, it's kind of like, being being kind of like a support person in this superhero world. So it's pretty cool.
Mm. Yeah, I have Dispatch for the same reasons. I also the majority of my playtime of Marvel Rivals was I guess
Hmm.
2025. I kind of fell off of it around the time the Switch 2 came out for obvious reasons because it's not on the Switch 2. But if it ever does come back to the Switch 2, maybe I'll play it more.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I really enjoy that time. Like I've always really liked games like. Well, let me put it this way: I've always liked Overwatch just as a concept. Um, and I think Marvel Rivals just like really honed in on exactly what made those games. You made that game great, and putting Marvel characters in there, just in making every single character as unique and interesting as they are. I think that just it's kind of a perfect storm for that game doing really well. So hopefully I'll come back to it at some point.
Yeah.
All right. Um, your number one, I assume, is Superman.
You would assume correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. Superman was awesome. I needed like this was a win for Superman, for DC Comics, for James Gunn, for fans who wanted real Superman back because for
Mm-hmm.
so long Superman has been what if Superman was evil with Homelander and Omni-Man and Superman being evil
Yeah.
half the time and just, we can't like I understand the setup is there for like, oh, an anti, an evil, an anti-Superman, opposite, all that stuff. But like, it was going for so long, people kind of forgot what Superman is originally supposed to be. And this
Yeah.
movie completely reinforces that. And I love it because he's just a great dude. He's like the most human guy ever, but he's also freaking Superman. And
Mm-hmm.
he loves to take care of people. He wants to help everyone, regardless of where you're from, what you do. Like, he's
If you're a
just a
squirrel.
great dude. Literally, if you're a squirrel, he's just an amazing dude. He's Superman. And this movie does an amazing job of that. I love, like, they make Clark just so likable, so real. He feels like such a great dude.
Mm-hmm.
Lois does a great job of being this like real world grounding person for him because yeah, in Clark's world, like yeah, squirrels and everything should be safe. And Lois is like, hey man, in the real world there are rules and some people are evil and this and that, and it just kind
Mm-hmm.
of it keeps him on his own. I like how that's how like even their relationship feels very real. It's like, yeah, like, we care about each other, but also we keep each other on our toes. And that's real.
Yeah.
I really like how, Lex is just the worst. And it's great because
Mm-hmm.
that is what we want. That's what we need. I need Lex Luthor. I don't need this like, comically, witty, smart. I need like just an evil genius dude. Like just
Yeah.
the smartest guy on earth who is also happens to be the pettiest guy on earth. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's just like it doesn't matter if it's Superman or a dog. Like he doesn't like it doesn't matter. He's so evil. It's great. He's just oh my gosh, he does a great
Mm-hmm.
job. He's so he owns every scene he's in, like you said. I love how like he's so cold and calculating and smart, but when it comes to Superman, he's just like red. He's just all he can see is red. He hates Superman. Just what a,
Mm-hmm.
spending the time to make an entire combat system for fighting Superman probably took so much time, even more money, and he just completely nails it. He starts an entire war just to mess with Superman. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, this man was gonna sacrifice millions of lives just to make Superman look bad. I mean,
Yeah.
that is dedication. He
Mhm.
is a generational hater, as he should be. This is on brand. So I think I just love how they got the characters right. I love the Justice Gang. I think Mr. Terrific getting his flowers is the most
Mm.
like, oh man, like nobody was talking about Mr. Terrific ever. And
Yep.
now Mr. Terrific is that dude. Like,
Yeah. I want
like
him to show up in
I knew
every
that.
DC movie from now
You
on.
knew that. But now
Yeah.
regular people know that. People who don't, like the fact that it's like he's this awesome guy who's also a genius and all this other
Mhm.
stuff. And like it's just really cool to see that. Like I love Guy Gardner. I love it just
Mm.
he is exactly who you think he is. He's just he's a hero who also happens to just be super insufferable and kind of
Yeah.
sucks. But
He is still a hero.
at the end of the day, he's still a hero. He's just the
Yes.
douchiest hero there is.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like,
And I think it
yeah,
was like it ended up actually being very smart that they cast Nathan Fillion to play him, since he has played not he played Hal Jordan in multiple
yes,
projects for over a decade now.
yeah.
So like, and he's played kind of smarmy characters like that before in James Gunn movies. So kind of putting all that together into Guy Gardner, I think was so good.
Yo, he does a great job. I also just love the hair. Just,
Yeah.
just so stupid. Bowl
Mm,
cut, man.
yeah.
Oh, it's so
One
great.
other
But
one other like small nitpick about the movie is
yeah,
I kind of feel like um the Hammer of Bravia ending up being a Superman clone, it didn't matter. Like,
yet,
I feel
but
like
yes.
this Luthor creating a clone of Superman, no matter how dumb it ended up being, I feel like this Luthor probably should have actually used the fact that he, looks and acts like Superman more to his advantage. Like,
Like framing Superman?
yeah, like he the whole point of the movie is to make Superman look bad. Like
Correct.
he has a whole army of monkeys tweeting bad things about him to influence the public. I feel it would have been easier just to have this clone go around and like, specifically cause damage, like just do things that he's, and then him publicly saying Superman's doing all these bad things. Maybe even I don't know if this is like kind of going out of the purview of what the movie is, but maybe even have like a G. Gordon Godfrey type character like kind of backing him up.
Hmm.
I think that would have been something they could have done. Um, like it's a very similar complaint that I have with Batman v Superman, where like you have this clone of Zod that you turn into what should have been Bizarro, instead it was Doomsday. But here in this case, it basically is Bizarro, but not actually Bizarro. It should have been, but whatever.
I mean, they only made him Doomsday because they planned to kill Superman.
Yeah.
Not they would have just made it Bizarro.
Uh,
But yeah. But
yeah.
anyway.
Here I like they almost did Bizarro, but then just like the last second decided not to. I find that choice a little weird.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
the fact like I still genuinely think him falling into that black hole is not the end of it. I think him ending up in Bizarro World or Earth 2 or
Yeah.
whatever,
Oh, absolutely.
he'll come back.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's definitely a bizarro world or something where,
Mhm.
the rule in comics is like, unless you see the body, they're alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even then, they're still alive half the time.
It seems that way.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean that's exciting. But yeah, I really like how they did with a lot of the characters. I like how this world we already again they established Superman's been here a while. We don't have to redo the origin story. And I love the parents.
Ooh,
Oh my goodness, dude. They nailed it, man. They literally just
like
like, let's just go to Kansas and find some old people.
they
Like,
act so much like my real grandparents. Like
Right?
my grandma like talking a little too loud on the phone, my grandpa just being in the background just like with like little comments, just like but still being able to give sage wisdom like that, like that's just so good.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's just it was just they knew what they were doing, man. It was
Mhm.
really well done, and they know like they really care about Superman as a whole, and it's important to not just not just here, but to this whole universe that you get
Mhm.
Superman right, because Superman is a pillar for the whole DC universe. So if you get him right, then the rest of the world
Mhm.
will follow suit.
Yeah. And even other characters in the movie, like the people at the Daily Planet, Steve Lombard, great. Perry White with always with a cigar, fantastic. Like that, I have like like a few little issues with how they handled Jimmy and his relationship with, or the lack thereof, with Superman, but I still liked how him and Lois interacted with the plot. I kind of wish they were in that T ship. I kind of wish they were involved in the climax a little more directly, but it's not a huge deal. Um, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think this movie as a jumping off point for the this new DC universe, I think it did pretty much everything right that it needed to do.
Yeah, no, it does. It's amazing, man. It just I think it really does. Like, I think it does it justice. I'm really makes me like excited for the rest of this universe because again,
Mm-hmm.
this was the big test. It's like, and if you get Superman right, I have a feeling you're probably gonna get Batman and a lot of other characters right. If
Mm-hmm.
you do Mr. Terrific justice,
Yeah,
I am all you're on my side, man. Like I got
absolutely,
it. So, I really like James Gunn and I really think that this universe he's making is gonna be very good, enjoyable, but also true to the source material in a lot of ways, which is really exciting to hear.
absolutely. So yeah, like Supergirl next year, just off the pedigree of how
Yep,
much I liked Superman, is going to be a very different movie, but I'm still excited for that just
I'm
because
all
Superman was.
for
I
it.
know James Gunn isn't involved, even though it looks like a Guardians movie. It looks like a movie he would make, even though he's not making it. I still
Yeah.
think it's going to be good. And then my number one is Thunderbolts asterisk the New Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said with the Spider-Man show, every year there's a movie that I just completely disregard for one reason or the other. And you think I would have learned my lesson after the debacle with the Batman, but apparently not. The Thunderbolts, it it just I feel does literally everything that the MCU should be doing at this point. It looks visually amazing. It uses characters that we've grown to like over the years together on a team very well. It actually, you know, actually was able to build off of things that happened more recently in the MCU that were left on cliffhangers, like what Elena's up to, everything with the Val, everything with John Walker. They even brought Ghost back of all characters from the Ant-Man movies no one saw. Like, uh, it weirdly is actually a a very pivotal movie to watch for greater MCU stuff going forwards. Like going in, I thought it was just basically going to be their version of Suicide Squad, but it's really not that. Like it is its own thing, and I really appreciate that. I still do kind of stand by my opinion when we reviewed Captain America. I still do stand by the opinion that I think a Captain America movie where like he's kind of essentially fighting General Ross's Thunderbolts as like here is who the new Avengers should be, and maybe not this exact group of people, but like the Thunderbolt kind of like presents his group of Avengers. And when Sam doesn't agree to that, they kind of start doing their own thing. I think that maybe would have been a better idea, but then this movie wouldn't have happened, so I'm okay with it. Uh, yeah, I think having Yelena be like kind of more so the main character in the same way that Iron Man was the main character of the first Avengers movie, but still being able to have all of these, very easily weave all these relationships between the other characters very, very nicely. I do still feel bad for Taskmaster. I know one character wasn't going to make out of it, but the fact she died so early
Ah,
is so
I
unfortunate.
think they just knew they messed with that one and just were like, let's just get it out of here. But
Yeah,
dang.
yeah, I understand. Um, but yeah, like you said, it was a lot funnier than I thought it would be. Like the trailers didn't really like seem like it was going to be a lot more serious than it ended up being. Um, but even though it was funny, I still think it did a very good. Again, it did everything the MCU should be doing at this point. It did a very good job of balancing the humor with the very serious topics that it was covering. Kind of the exact, the like a it's essentially it does everything that I wish Thor: Love and Thunder had done. Where like the movie should have been a lot darker than it was. It should have. It can still be funny, but it should have been able to balance the humor and the dark elements a little better. That movie should have been not, the Earth scenes in that movie shouldn't have been lit like a Nissan commercial. Whereas this movie, like every single shot is just immaculate. Like I want whoever was the cinematographer of that movie, I want them on every single MCU movie going forward.
Hmm.
And like not I mean not that the and like this is also kind of the case with the Fantastic Four. Like I think whoever the Russo brothers have on retainer, I think they know how to make the movie look pretty good. Um, but you can still clearly tell there was a difference between the after credit scene of this movie and the Fantastic Four as opposed to the rest of the
Yes.
movies because it was just basically, if not a direct scene from the upcoming Avengers, at the least it was definitely shot by the Russo brothers.
Yeah.
Again, doesn't make it bad. It just you can clearly tell there's a difference, and
There's a
so
difference there.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I like the only real complaint I have.
It's not longer.
It's I mean I feel like it when
Well,
it
yeah,
ended.
well,
I'm
yeah,
like
you actually did say
when it
that.
when
Yeah.
it ended. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm satisfied. That was a like I don't
Fantastic
know.
Four.
Yeah. And then weirdly, Fantastic Four didn't end. Nothing in that movie really tied directly into the after grad scene. So I guess we'll get that in Doomsday. But whatever. Um, like my only complaint really is that I kind of wish that in the after credit scene they added like one more character onto the new Avengers. I don't know who that would have been, but like, no, someone just like again, I don't even know who it would have been, but just one extra character. I feel like it'd been what 14 months. I think that's enough time to like, why wasn't it 14 months or like a year and a half or something?
It was like, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think I think it would have been interesting to have one more character added on just to help, if not expand the universe, just help make this team feel a little more real. That like they are still trying to beat the Avengers. They want to recruit people. If it's even someone who may be expected to be on Sam's team is now over here, something, but
Mm.
not a huge deal, especially since Doomsday will be packed full of characters. But um, yeah, when my main complaint is that I wish there was another character in there in the after credits scene. I think that's a pretty good movie. All right, cool. Is there anything else you want to say about any of these movies or shows before we wrap up?
It was a great year and getting ready for the next one, which may in fact be more stacked.
It at least has Spider-Man, so that's gonna be good, right?
It does have Spider-Man.
If all else fails, Spider-Man is usually pretty good.
Yes, yes. Spider-Man's pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Let us know down below what your favorite superhero slash comic book project of 2025 was. And yeah, like I said, we're looking forward to all the stuff coming out this year, which our next video will be our most anticipated things of 2026, the year we're in now, which is crazy. So with all that, we'll see you all next time.
Take care.